70. Welcome to Conversations with Rotary Action People for Monday, May the 18th. Today's topic is school isn't out forever. It just seems like it. Our special guest today from the Rotary Club of Columbia, a superintendent with the Richland County School District 1, Dr. Craig Witherspoon. Good morning, Doctor.
Good morning. Good morning. Hope you all are doing well.
Well, we're doing fantastic. We hope you're doing well. We know you are very busy. So first of all, thank you for dedicating some time to come on and talk with your Rotary brothers and sisters this morning. We're anxious to kind of hear you talk in just a few minutes. To kick us off, if you are listening to us here on the Zoom call, please go to the chat box and tell us your Rotary Club and where you're watching from this morning. Also, we are streaming this on the district Facebook page. If you're listening to us over there on Facebook, please post a comment and let us know where you're watching from and your Rotary Club as well. I failed to introduce myself. My name is Donald Hovis with the Chicora Rotary Club here in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, and also a member on the Public Image Committee for your Rotary District. Want to introduce a few key people on the line today, Doctor, so you know who's on.
Okay.
Past District Governor from the Rotary Club of Hilton Head Island, Mr. David Terrard. Good morning, David. Your Public Image Chair for our Rotary District, Miss Mary Gass from the 5 Points Rotary Club in Columbia.
Mm-hmm.
And our District Communications Chair from the Rotary Club of Summerville Evening in Summerville, South Carolina, Mr. Terry Moore. Thank you, Terry, for what you're doing. Now, for the vision statement of Rotary. Together, we see a world where people unite, take action to create lasting change across the globe, in our communities, and in ourselves. Dr. Craig Witherspoon, I understand you've been a Rotarian for a few years. Tell us about your career thus far as a Rotarian in Columbia.
Absolutely. I've actually been a Rotarian in various locations going back to 2006. Certainly as a superintendent, I've been a couple of places. So I first became a Rotarian, again, back in 2006, 2007 in Tarboro, North Carolina. That chapter, and then as I transitioned to Birmingham, I was a member of the Birmingham Rotary for that time, and then joined the Columbia Rotary back in 2017. So certainly familiar with Rotary and its work and its impact internationally, and certainly nationally, and the local units that we have, clubs that we have. So proud to be a Rotarian and continue to be supportive. Absolutely.
And what you're going to talk to us today is obviously what you do on a daily basis. And I'm sure as of right now, you are a very needed gentleman. And we do appreciate you dedicating a few minutes again to be with us today. You are the superintendent of the Richland County School District 1 there in Columbia. So tell us, how are things going up in Columbia?
Well, dealing with this situation, with this pandemic, as school systems across the country, in the state, are doing. I'll tell you, just as things are, nothing's the same. It's different. Each day is different, and being closed and still feeding and trying to work out online logistics for students and teachers. We've given out packets. We've still done our meal distribution. We've had our IT folks helping out parents with internet questions that they might have. We've sent buses out. Our buses have hotspots, Wi-Fi hotspots, so that parents can get online. We've also distributed over 29,000 instructional packets, because not all of our students have internet access. And we actually, even here in the Columbia area, we have some areas in our rural part of the district that don't even have the infrastructure for broadband, not to mention being able to access and getting that service. So we cover the gamut, and kind of like situations that exist across the state of South Carolina. So needless to say, it's been busy. Each day is something new. We've got our essential staff still working, and some folks that can still working from home, coming in, and all of those things. We've still managed to keep our payroll systems and other operational things going throughout this time. So my hat's off certainly to our student nutrition folks, our transportation folks, our teachers, and everybody. It's certainly been a new normal, if you will, in terms of how we operate and how we keep things going from when we close. And if we rewind the clock, we were in school on Friday, May 13th. And then the governor made that decision on that following Sunday. So on March 13th. And then on March 16th, that Monday, we were essentially closed. So we still had students that may have had books in their locker and those things. So it was a very quick pivot from there. And we've been running ever since, trying to make things happen and as best as possible, keep the instruction going as it, of course, looked different. And but again, hats off to our staff and all levels of the district, our principals, our teachers, and everybody that has stepped up and helped us to move forward and during this time.
And I'll say probably, I think the single most important thing in business is communication. And obviously, you being the superintendent, you spearhead all of that communication. So when you found out on March 16th, I mean, I would love to know kind of what was maybe the first thing that you did in order to kind of prepare for now what we're seeing is 2 months later.
Very good question. We had started preparing actually before the 16th in terms of our infrastructure with laptops and so forth. So we had been communicating with schools, hey, let's get ready, and our staff that this was coming. But as you've indicated, on March 16th, the first thing to do was to get out some communications to the entire community, if you will, our parents, our teachers, our students, our staff. Hey, here's what's happening. So, of course, recorded some messages to go out, did some emails that went out, and again, overarching message was the same. We're doing things a little differently, but certainly parents needed to hear, okay, what does this mean for instruction and those types of things? Staff needed to hear, what is this going to mean for us and how we move forward? And certainly our students wanted to know how's it, our seniors, and we can talk about that a little later. What does that mean for graduation and finishing up the year and making sure that they had the things that they needed? So that communication, that messaging across the organization was very important. And from that week and ever so often, we also put on the district website page some FAQs, some frequently asked questions around all of these aspects. You know, what's happened with meal distribution? What's happening with internet? What's happening with grading? How would that look? What's happening with attendance? And all of those things. So we created some categories of questions, and that's on our website. And we continue to update those things as we go through. And even this week, I'll be recording a show, a broadcast, if you will, that continues to look at some of these outstanding issues. What's going to happen as we finish out the year? What's going to happen with summer school? What's going to happen with as we transition, if you will, or prepare for back to school. Is that going to look the same? Is it might be virtual? What kind of social distancing things are we putting in place, and all? So there's still a lot of questions, a lot of communication that needs to be done. Some of those things we have answers to, and quite frankly, some of those things we don't yet, in terms of guidance from the state, guidance from the CDC, and so forth, about how we move forward. So as we get that information, we'll put it out. And as you've indicated, communication is so key. Those things we don't have answers to as of yet, and we're working through some scenarios, we'll put that out there as well. Here are the scenarios that we are considering in terms of how we move forward. But that communication, getting back, is so very key and critical to our stakeholders and various community members as well.
And Doctor, I'm in Myrtle Beach, so I'm in Horry County.
Yeah.
You're in Richland County, which I think Horry County is the biggest county in the state, I do believe. Mm-hmm. We had about a 10 to 14 day gap in our meal distribution in Horry County because of positive tests. Did that affect your district in any way?
No, we had we've done in Richland County, Richland One. Unfortunately, we've had floods to deal with. Back in 2015, we've had other inclement weather things that our folks have been able to step up with meal distribution pretty quickly. So again, and we were planning, we kind of knew this was coming, schools closure. So our student nutrition, let me get the picture back here. Our student nutrition shop, they were ready. So on that Monday, quite frankly, we were able to have meal distribution. They were ready. Now, with regard to COVID-19 positive testing and so forth, we did provide our staff with masks and gloves and monitored that. So, to my understanding, and again, reflecting back, while there may have been, some secondary or third, folks that might have been tested or some distant contact, if you will, not direct contact, we still monitored that. We were in contact with DHEC, our local DHEC officials to share information and get feedback. But thankfully we were ready to move that forward, and we had enough folks available. So if someone had symptoms or what have you, while they were waiting on testing at the time, we were able to have those folks go home and still continue working while they were getting their results and move forward. But we had PPEs available and those types of things to move forward since that time.
Now, give you just another example, and I want you to share what you're currently doing in Richland County. Horry County suspended all e-learning new activities as of Friday, May 15th. Did Richland County, did your district do the same?
We did the same, and actually we got state guidance around May 15th being the end of instruction, if you will, for seniors, so that they could use this week here that we're in now to get grades in and all of that, so we could proceed with those students could proceed with graduation, with finishing out their senior year, getting transcripts completed, getting those things out to higher ed and so forth. And the same with new instruction, if you will, because of, again, not every student having internet access and those types of things. And then we had learning packets that we distributed and all, the rub, if you will, or the challenge we had is, how do you do new instruction with some students who had the ability to join Zoom meetings with teachers and all to kind of get feedback and interaction with those who we simply gave packets to? And we still had, even with that, we still had teachers to reach out and either by phone, either by email and so forth. So the rub across the state and across the country was, how do we do that with new instruction so we didn't penalize students that didn't have that access? So thus the decision, if you will, to really look closely at review and work that had already been taught, and how to very carefully look at how you introduce new instruction, so that we didn't penalize. So thus the guidance and feedback that we received on review and making sure students truly understand what had already been taught versus new instruction. And the same thing I will add on that is, we have a state curriculum, of course, and we have pacing guides and those things that are laid out in terms of when you introduce curriculum when, and also one of the pluses, if you will, is leading up to exams and all of that, and at the end of the year, there was some new curriculum to be taught, but most of those things had already been taught. So again, that was a balancing act, and districts wanted to make sure we were meeting those needs and finishing out the curriculum, but also not penalizing students at the same time.
Excellent. And Dr. Witherspoon, I just wanted to mention, we do have a couple fellow PhD educators from around our district listening to this call. So
Absolutely.
Thank you for being here.
Yeah.
Before we go any further, if you have a question for Dr. Witherspoon, if you have feedback, please post that in the chat box. We'd love to hear from you.
Absolutely.
And if you're watching us through the Facebook page, please post that in a comment on the Facebook live feed, and we will get those questions answered for you. So I think the biggest thing right now is we're at May 18th is graduation.
Mm-hmm.
What are the plans for your district going forward with those graduation plans?
Well, our graduations for Richland One will be June 2nd through 5th. And I know, those graduation dates may vary by district and so forth based on their original calendar before all of this happened. That being said, what we're looking at, and we got feedback, we put a committee together of students, of parents, certainly of district office folks, our principals. We got feedback from local health officials, and I want to say, certainly we're still in the middle of this pandemic, but we did get feedback, and what we decided on was face-to-face outdoor commencement ceremonies. That being said, they will be different, and we're going to be putting those specific guidelines out later this week. For example, I'll go ahead and mention, while we will be outside, we're still going to require participants and guests to wear masks, because again, we know what's been put out there and what brings down any potential issues. If one person has a mask, that brings, the possibility of something happens down. But if two people have on a mask, it brings that spread even further down. And while we're outside, and that's just one example of some of the things we're going to require. But that being said, it was important to our seniors and others to have something versus virtual, which was an option as well. And I will say our local healthcare officials said, hey, the safest thing to do would be virtual. But if you're going to do these things, be sure they're things you follow and pay attention to. So we certainly respect that. But we want to move forward, with the route we've chosen as safely as possible. And I appreciate in advance our students and their guests, for their cooperation in allowing us to move forward in this fashion.
Yeah, I think it's based on the current situation, I think it's great to see that we're still going to go forward, even if they can only have 2 guests. Because walking across that stage in high school is one of the biggest things you'll do in your entire life. And not everyone goes to college. So
Right.
it could be that one time they say, I walked across the stage and I received a diploma for completing, 12 years of education. So I think it's fantastic to see.
Yeah.
We're doing the same here in Myrtle Beach. So it seems like the whole entire kind of state, or at least our, lower state, is all on the same page. I think one thing I'm interested in is I don't have any kids personally, but I know a lot of families that do have kids. How is the whole grading system going on during this pandemic? Because that's the one thing I'm like,
Yeah.
not in school. How do you grade them? I don't understand. Can you explain?
Very good question. And just as I mentioned earlier about students who even in normal times, but certainly now, could get online, could join those Zoom classes or Microsoft Team classes and virtually, and having packets. Again, even from the guidance that we received from the state, not penalizing students that may have had some difficulty. And let's be clear, virtual is not for everybody, even in regular situations. A lot of folks need that face-to-face. And, teacher, I have a question tell me about this again, or can you show me, those types of things. We all have different learning modalities and so forth. So the guidance we received was, again, still holding students accountable, but being as flexible as possible in terms of, if they attempted work and you wanted that engagement. We didn't want any student, well, I'm not going to log in if they had the ability, or I'm just not going to try these work packets or what have you. I am going to attempt. I am going to reach out. Teachers are going to reach out and so forth and get feedback and all. And so grading, if you will, what we looked at, and again, some of the guidance was that participation. Did they try? Made a true attempt to complete work and get that turned in and feedback and so forth, so that we could move forward. Now, one of the things that the state did, as well as a lot of states across the country, in our high schools, for example, or middle school students who took end of grade tests, end of course tests, Algebra 1, biology, history, and so forth, those were waived, if you will. And in normal times, they count 20% of the grade. So, but because those students did not take those end of course tests, that didn't count. So you had third grading period grades, which we were about maybe a week to 2 weeks from finishing third quarter anyway. Then we had fourth quarter, which we are in now, which again, did you do the work and so forth. So what will happen is that third quarter and fourth quarter grades, they will be averaged for a semester grade. And then going back to first semester, which was normal, second semester, and then calculating that end of year grade, which is a little different than what normally happens. But with that consideration that I talked about, and the way those two semesters are being calculated, hopefully we're not penalizing students, but still holding them accountable for doing the work during this time.
And we have a great question submitted by a viewer, and I think this will answer a lot of other questions that folks may have. I'm going to kind of read you the whole thing here.
Sure.
I have a daughter that is a middle school counselor, many friends that are school administrators and teachers. They seem to share that we need to get the children back in school. What are you doing to make sure this happens?
Uh, First of all, we agree. I agree. If and when we can get back to normal, if you will, we certainly want to move in that regard. But there are several scenarios that districts and the state is looking at. You know, best circumstances, we're able to start back in August. Um, um, and with some modifications, if you will. Other scenarios, again, is it the virtual piece that we've been doing? Is there a hybrid where we're doing some blended learning where students are doing some things either online and still in school, or still with some connection or what have you. So we're looking at several scenarios. And I know, and I've gotten feedback from parents that are saying, hey, I'm concerned about the fall. Are there some virtual options that may exist moving forward? And we have in Richland One, we have a virtual program that we're looking at expanding for the fall, and we'll be surveying parents to see if maybe that's an option or if that's something they're looking at. The state has a virtual program, virtual school, that I think they're trying to beef that up too. But that being said, we're looking at several different scenarios because school does so much. Yes, the teaching and learning, but that interaction, building those relationships, giving students, regardless of the spectrum, some sense of normalcy, structure, and those types of things. So yes, best case scenario, we want to get that. But do we have to plan for some different scenarios just in case? Absolutely. Yeah.
One thing I want to know, Doctor, is obviously you mentioned at the beginning of this, you supplied a lot of laptops, a lot of Chromebooks, a lot of technology, internet, what have you. Does that stop at the end of the school year? Are the kids having to bring the items back? Can they keep them over the summer? Like, what are your plans on the whole technology piece going forward?
Well, we're doing a little of both. We will, for of course, our seniors will collect those back. They're leaving us, and we're doing some collection because over the summer we refresh the computers and all of that. So there's got to be time to do that. At the same time, some of our students, if we're talking about the summer reading camp or some credit recovery and all, a subset of our students may be keeping their laptops as well. So we're kind of taking that program by program, if you will, and step by step as we move forward.
Well, thank you again for your time this morning. We do very much appreciate it. Also want to say thank you to everyone that is on the phone and on the Zoom call and watching us on Facebook. We realize how important school and school education is, which is why we wanted to bring Dr. Witherspoon on in this program to answer some of your questions, give you some feedback, let you know. So thank you very much. If you're watching the Zoom call today and you haven't been on our other Conversations with Rotary Action People segments, we do these 3 times a week, Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays at 11 o'clock. We've got the calendar filled up through right now, I think early June, and we plan to continue this past then as we're seeing a lot of success. We're getting a lot of great feedback about this program, so thank you for being part of it today. Also, if you're in which we're all in Rotary, right? We're all Rotarians. If you're in a Rotary club, we'd love to get your public image chair to post these videos on your Facebook page, your club Facebook page, to help spread the word of Rotary, to keep Rotary top of mind during this current coronavirus pandemic, because we're sharing all positive stuff. Nothing negative comes from Rotary. So just know that. We'd love to have you. If you have any further questions about this program, you may reach out to myself, Mary Gask, or Terry Moore. And if you need contact information, you can find that in DACDB. To close us down for here Monday, May 18th, we're going to recite the Rotary 4-way test of the things we think, say, or do. Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned? That is a wrap for Conversations with Rotary Action People for Monday, May 18th. Hope everyone enjoys a beautiful Monday. We'll see everyone Wednesday at 11 o'clock for the next Conversations with Rotary Action People. Thanks again, Dr. Witherspoon. Keep up the great work. We appreciate you dedicating some time for us today. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
Dr. Witherspoon. Thank you very much, Dr. Witherspoon. Thank you, Donald.
Yes, ma'am. Everybody have a great day.
Thank you. You too.
See you then. Bye-bye.